By West City Park on the road coming in. This is the road bed that they're getting ready to lay for the railroad track. That is this side of the bridge here, that real low spot. If you'd be coming into town, it'd be on the right hand side. But this is a road bed for the American Glass Company railroad, and like I say, it was probably the first one through this area. Here it shows them laying the railroad ties down through the pass there, up where as you turn at the corner of Sunshine Drive, through that cut right through there where there's a lot of rock and that. This is a little bit further up towards 5th Street and Sunshine Drive there at that stop sign and intersection. But you can see that they're getting ready to lay down the railroad ties to get ready for the railroad. Now here's another picture showing here. This is a picture before the railroad ties were laid down too. This is still the bed, laying the bed for the railroad ties and the tracks to be laid later. This is coming into Festus along 5th Street. This is more as a cutting through the rock. This is before even the railroad ties were laid down and the blasting was done to get ready for the bedrock and also the railroad ties to be laid, and then naturally the track to follow that. That is along that bluff, cutting through that bluff out by Sunshine Drive. Now here's a work crew. They're getting ready to lay the track along the drive. I mean along the track, or their fill dirt. That's all steam operated equipment at that time. In fact, I guess in back of it here you can see some of the steam coming out, but that right through there, that is laying the track. You can see the man giving directions here what to do. You can see they got one of the tracks here getting it lined up to lay it down. This picture here is almost the same as the picture we just looked at, only it's a little better picture. You can see the work crew there standing along the rail that they're going to lay on the bedrock for the railroad to come through. There's a buggy on the side. Over here, a work buggy right here. You can see the hydraulic jack to let the railroad track down, and a hoist on the side here. Some kind of a hoist track lined up to lay it down. Now those pictures are the ones coming from Silica into the American Glass Company at Crystal City. The road, I would imagine, was started out at Silica. Now this shows you the train coming from Silica going to the American Glass Company in Crystal City at that time. This here is what they call a small gauge track. This was before the trains got bigger and heavier. Then they went to the wide gauge track. But this is the train for American Glass Company. I think in 1876 was when they started building that track over there, and then I think in 1888 they made the track wider. In 1888 to a regular gauge track, and then in 1904, well, Frisco come through and they did away with that. And this here is number 18 it shows on the front. Okay, here shows the train come from Silica again. This you can see in the background back here, this is all the hill up there where the sand mine is in 2003, which is out of condition now, and there's no work going on up there, but that's the hill in back of it up on Horine Road. But this bridge here is a bridge which is the car bridges today, which they're going to tear down in 2003 and make the road wider and put a new bridge in. But that was the original road. It's been in service out there since sometime in the 20s. That was the original road, railroad, and then when they disbanded the railroad, like I say, that part of it, they put that became the automobile road. And next to it on the side where there's still those steel forms are up was the original wagon road, which was on this picture. It would be to the right of it. That structure, as far as the platforms and the abutments, are still there. Now here's another picture almost similar to that one, only it's not going over the bridge. Is the train coming from Silica going to the American Plate Glass Company in Crystal City. Now how those trains turned around out there, I have no idea. I've been trying to find out and figure out how they turned around. I know Crystal, when the train would, this train here would go over to Crystal City inside the plant, they had what they called a turntable. They would sit, they would deliver their merchandise, whatever was on the cars. It looks like more or less baggage cars and passenger cars. But the train would circle on around the plant, and they had what they called a turntable. The train would stop on that, and it was just a big round table, and they would turn the train, or just the engine, not the train, just the engine. They would put that on that turntable, and then they would manually turn that turntable, and then the train would face back out of the plant towards where it came from, which was Silica at the time. Now what they did out of Silica, I have an idea, but I don't know if it's true or not, the way they handled it out at Silica. Now this train here is on the Iron Mountain Railroad, which went to Desoto. It's a separate railroad, but it went through to Desoto. But this is the railroad station right here that was out at one of them. There was more than one. This one here was on the for Silica stopping right here at the Iron Mountain Railroad, which went through there, Bailey Station, Hematite, and then down to Desoto. And this little building here on the right, which we can see in the silo, was an old barn there. The silo is still there by the filtration plant in 2003. That's a silo. And that should be a train going north, probably coming from Desoto, heading towards St. Louis, which, like I say, in those days, it stopped at every every little whistle stop, they said it was to pick up milk cans and passengers. Every 5 miles it would go and then it would stop. Now this picture here is a picture on the old Iron Mountain Railroad, which goes to Desoto, and like I say, Hanover out there at the time, and Victoria and through there. Well, this engineer, the year of a flood, and the engineer was coming through there real slow, and finally the track had been washed away, and he heads through there, and he ended up, like I say, turning the first couple cars over. It looks like maybe 3 cars there turned over, including the engine. I think the engineer had drowned in this flood. This was 1938. I'm almost positive it was 1938 that this disaster happened out at Bailey Station. Now this here is starting through Festus with the railroad. You can see these houses and a few houses in the back here. You can see the old wooden cars. They were hauling rock to fill for their bed for the railroad, to lay the railroad ties in, and that was, I would imagine it must have been in Festus at the time, like along 5th Street there somewhere. I would say maybe on 5th Street there, but this side of probably where the, well, I say Union Electric, but where the city work shed is today. It had to be further on in town where, I guess, maybe Ridge Avenue, into that area, maybe even closer to Crystal. Now here, like I say, is more filling of the railroad. And here you can see right here, this is how much they've raised it here, from here to here. So that is still the bed of the railroad coming into Festus or in Festus at some location. But looking at the background, it's pretty close, because here is the background, maybe a Kenner's Hill up there, and that house that you can barely see up here on top, right there. You can just barely see it. Now Tony Petery told me that was a Van Clevo in that house up there, and they were on Horion Road. They were on Horion Road, the people by the name of McCleve. Here's a picture of the old cars. Boy, they didn't look like much, did they? Right through here on there, hauling dirt and gravel and rock for fill for the railroad. I don't believe they could load them very much the way it looks. Even the track looked pretty doggone rickety through here. The track looks pretty rickety. But that must be somewhere in Festus going to Crystal again, because there's houses through that area. Here's another picture. This is similar to the picture we showed, but this one here has the engine on it. And you can look at that engine and see that that's not too gone, show that it's not too powerful an engine, and it's an old wooden cab on it. And we have the horses on the back of it there. But this was to show the the engine, the train engine on that one. And I would imagine these here sides on these here open up, and then the rock falls out. What doesn't fall out, at that time they probably had to get in there with shovels and shovel what was left in the cars out of the cars. Now this picture here is down on the highway, on the footbridge, what they call the footbridge there, crossing the highway, which is Truman Boulevard now. But that was the Frisco must have been putting that through at the time, 1904, to go on through. That's when they built the railroad, I think, all the way to Cape at that time. But this is the two pillars. Those pillars are still down there, and you see a guy sitting on the top of this one here, right here. And this is one of them. This is the other one. Here's a railroad. At that time, some of that line is still there. That comes from Shop and Save up there. But back in, I think, 1898, that railroad came from Herculaneum. A picture a little later will show you that that railroad came from Herculaneum and on around, and the station at Crystal City, they used to call that the Festus Station, which was on the Bonterre Railroad. But that was the old Bonterre Railroad coming around and down through Shop and Save on up through the valley there to Herculaneum. Now here's the same two pillars there, only this one here has two guys standing on top of it watching the project going on. But like I said, that's down on 61, 67, used to be old Highway 25, which is now Truman Boulevard, down by the stoplights. That's when the Frisco went through. They put those abutments up in, well, around 1902 or 3, because the railroad post had been going through in 1904. Here's a picture I should tell you that showed the old train coming from Herculaneum through here. This is a track showing it going to, at that time they called it Festus Station, Frisco Railroad going overhead, going on through Crystal City. This one here was the Bonterre Railroad going through Crystal at the station and on past the Little League Field and on south. That is a picture showing, like I say, that was before, another picture, before the highway was through there. You can see that's all railroad track through there. Underneath there, there's no place for a highway. I was just thinking out loud there that I have a picture somewhere. It shows it down the bottom part about where that engine is, and about 4 or 5 cows down there. And here's a similar picture, only a little older picture than the one we just seen. It shows the abutment, but we don't have no train or anything on top of it. We have a better view of what's coming from up by Shop and Save down the highway from Herculaneum. This is the old tracks, and before that there's nothing. You can see a little stand here where you used to climb over. People from Curtis used to climb up that to get up on that hill, and they used to walk that track, going the Frisco track, going like say to Festus. The kids in Crystal, well, not at that time, but in the 30s and 40s, there used to be a cornfield there. They used to go through that cornfield and get on the trestle and go to Crystal instead of going all the way down to the stoplights. Here's almost a similar picture, only instead of having the railroad tracks coming down the middle of the road here. Well, this is the road. The highway then became the highway underneath those tracks. They crossed like this, and you went on to the depot later, but it was cut off. The end of the track was cut off up there about by a shop and save up there. Those tracks were still remaining there in the 40s, and then they cut more of the track out, and it just goes up there to Shapiro's salvage yard now. But that was the original tracks that came on the MRBT, Mississippi River and Voluntary Railroad. Now here shows another picture of the old trestle in Crystal City. Looks like there's a big farmhouse up there. There used to be, you know, the big field up there. I think that's Crystal Terrace down up in there, but that was before the railroad was in service, and you can't see them, but down here there's cows, a few cows, like 2 or 3 cows down here. Can't see on the picture, but this was a farmhouse here, and there's another house back here, but that was like looking from Crystal City into Festus. There was a big farmhouse up in that field before Crystal Terraces was there, and the one in Crystal, what is it called, down by Oaks Drive there, over by Masonic. But that was actually the ones in Festus over there. Now this picture here is on the other side where old PPG used to be, on the other side of the footbridge. Going around that corner there, it shows the hill Buck Knob here. This is where the roadbed is here. You see people congregating down there. You know, it used to be a big thing even when I was a young man in the 40s and 50s to walk down the railroad tracks. The kids in school, you walk, a bunch of girls in front, a bunch of boys tagging along behind, agitating one another, fun. But they used to walk the tracks a lot, the kids in the Twin Cities did. And they would walk down the track. And that seems like these people here were just down there just seeing what was going on. You know, these people here just standing there, just looking out over the roadbed for the railroad. But the thing that gets me about all the old timers, and I've made comments about on other videos about their hats. You can see all the guys got hats on. All the men got hats on, and the women, they all had a hat on. I say, if you didn't wear a hat, you just wasn't anybody, I guess, in their society. But everybody wear hats in those days. And like I say, look how they're dressed up just to go down the river. They got their suits and ties on, their best bonnet the women have. You can see them in the background. There's these 2 women got their hats on. This woman's got her hat on. This woman right here got her hat on. And all the guys got their shirt and tie on, and this one gentleman even got his suit on. He's full dress, and the other one got a vest on. But that was the difference of the dress code in those days and what they are now. People really dressed up just to go sit down and look at the river. This shows more blasting along the bluff by the river. On the other side, like I say, with old PPG. We say old PPG because it's gone. It don't exist no more. But on that curve there on Buck Knob, well, that's where that blasting had taken place, getting ready for the railroad bed to come through. Yeah, we can see these dudes here. They're sitting on the edge of the bluff there, PPG in the background. Well, we're in the background, PPG. There, they're sitting on the edge of the bluff there. Got their suit and ties on. And hats on, they had to. They got their hats on, their suit and their tie. Just more blasting for the railroad. This was similar to one of the other pictures, but it is a different picture. Blasting for the Frisco Railroad come through. The Northern Pacific had several names, several different buyouts on that, but that's the railroad. It still goes through the Twin Cities today and heads south. This picture here is on the old MRBT Railroad down by Little League Field, and you can see the flooding of the water. Nothing new there. Still flooding today in 2003, but that is a picture showing a train going through down through the flood area at the intersection down there by Little League Field. There's another picture of the train going through the flood water down by Little League Field, to the tracks and back of the field. There's another picture of the station down there. On this picture, like I say, you can just barely see, but you can see the big old hump right here that was over there. And that's about in the vicinity of where the Baptist church is there, and Myers Motors, and over on the highway there. And another thing about this picture, you look real close in the background here, you can see that that's the railroad going to Cape or to Crystal City, that they still haven't got it completed. So this is before 1904, because they got the abutments up, but there's no track or nothing across it. And another thing, like I said before, they're all dressed up. Their suits and ties and hats. And the lady in their bonnets. Even the little kids have hats, but it was another flood year. Now this one here is another flood year, like I say, with 1904. Probably 1904 had pretty good flood then, but this is a picture. The reason I have this one here is this right here is the old boardwalk. You always heard people talk about the old boardwalk coming from Crystal to Fest. Well, that's part of it's washed up next to the railroad track. That would begin like up about by the Catholic Church. I can remember pictures before. It was showing nothing but wagon tracks there for a horse and a wagon. In fact, a couple pictures showed where it showed a man and his horse being pulled across this before it got this high, the flood, and he was going across this boardwalk with his horse and buggy going to Festus. But and then, like I say, it started at the Catholic Church, a little bit below the Catholic Church, and the boardwalk continued all the way over to where the old post office be. I think there's a daycare there, anyhow, by the Legion, and right to the west of where the post office is, when you start down that low place where the bridge is, where the Eagles Club is. Well, that boardwalk came all the way from Fest to there, and it was just strictly, like I say, a boardwalk, and it would float. But that area through there was nothing but a pigsty. It was nothing but mud every time it rained, and they finally ended up filling a lot of that in. this here picture here doesn't have anything to do with our area. It's from St. Genevieve. But it did have an impact on our way of living up here, because that train, that is the train from Illinois would get on a ferry, what I'm trying to think of, a ferry boat, and it would push that train, come from the Illinois side, which you had permission to come up the Missouri side, and it would get on the Missouri tracks and come north. But it's showing, which was unique with me, is that whole train is being pushed over by a ferry boat from the Illinois side to be able to get on the tracks on the Missouri side. What kind of hookup they had, I do not know, but that picture, like I say, was an Illinois railroad coming over and getting on the old Frisco or railroad here in Missouri. Now here's another. This is a train wreck. It didn't affect our community. Well, in a way it did, because one of them was at Sulphur Springs. Which one, I do not know. I heard two different stories on. One said Horine, and one said Sulphur Springs, which there was two wrecks, one at Horine and one at Sulphur Springs. But the pictures, I don't know. I would imagine this one was probably at Sulphur Springs, and there was a woman from the Twin City was going to the World's Fair, and what had happened, one train up at Sulphur Springs was loading its engines for water, and the oncoming train, they didn't turn the switch, and the oncoming train ran into the rear of the other train, and several people from Desoto, several people from Herclaim in the area, but a moon woman was on there from Crystal City, and she'd lost her life. Now that would, to me, would be the one at Sulphur Springs, because it was supposed to be by a watering tower where it would be level. This is more of the train wreck. I would think would be at Sulphur Springs. Sulphur Springs. It says here the information are 1924 Horine, but like I said, another picture here we have it. It shows on a bridge here, and I would think that would probably be the wreck at Horine. I'm not really sure, but it's a train wreck in our area. More of the train wreck that occurred. Like I say, I don't know exactly where, because I got the pictures, didn't have it written on the back, and I guess they weren't sure. But that says a Horine too on the picture written there, that I'd written on there, but it could be a mistake. Here's a picture again of a train wreck, one of those two train wrecks. This is on a bridge. It's definitely off the side of the bridge. So this possibly could have been the one at Horine. I'm not really positive on it, but it's a bad wreck also. Never did hear too much about that wreck at Horine. But the one there, like I say, I got a piece in the paper, from the St. Louis paper, talking about all the people that were hurt on the one up at Sulphur Springs, and gave each one of them the names that were injured that was riding the train at that time. This is the old Festus station here, and then I don't know, heard two stories, I think. And one story is that this was built someplace else and cut in two and put on a flat car and moved there. and an old fellow in town by the name of Mr. Beeler, and he said the depot, there was a small depot was put there in 1878 on the American Glass Line, which he was an old timer when he put a piece in the paper about what he knew about the railroad coming through in 1904 about Frisco. Well, he said the American Glass Company had a railroad, or a railroad station there, a small station. And then another story is that, like I say, it was built someplace else and Frisco moved there. But I don't know which one is right, which one is wrong, like history, where there's nothing, very few things are exact. There's a lot of stories, but very few of it is exact in history. And in 1961, this depot was closed down. It was closed down in 61. Frisco closed it down like they did the Crystal City Station and the rest of them to save money. This is the old Crystal City railroad station. Looking at the cars, probably in the 30s, but when the station really opened up, I have no idea. I would imagine sometime around 1904 when the railroad went through, same time Father Festus is when they start having passenger service go through, why they built the station. And that one there is Crystal City. In the background you can see the old water tank right there. Couple dudes walking on the platform over there, laid brick. Made it pretty nice. Now this one here is a pretty tricky station. On there it says Genevieve. And the story is that this station was down by where Jones Chemical is. And they call it Genevieve Station. But so many people were getting off the train thinking it was St. Genevieve that they had to change the name. And then the Mississippi River Bonterra Railroad, some of them say that it was down the track further from the location of today, which is, I think, is a dog care in there. It showed that as being down further down there. Somebody said about 1,000 feet. So maybe this Genevieve station was the old Mississippi River Bonterra Railroad station, only it was down about where Walmart is. I don't know. But it says Genevieve Station. It's in our vicinity. Now this here is the old Victoria. That was their railroad station out of Victoria. Victoria Railroad. That's one on the Iron Mountain Railroad that went into Desoto. Now this one here is the old Platten station down there. This is a railroad station, like I say, every little stop. If we had anything to go, well, that was it. You can see in this one, there's the old milk can right here. And that's down at Platten Station. And this one here is the old Bonterra Station. 1904 for sure, because we know had a flood there. But That's a picture of the Bonterra station, which is still there today. Part of it in that location. Like I say, I don't know if the other station was just talk about being 1,000 yards down, about where Walmart is, or if that was the first one. But we do know that 1918, that they call that the Festus station.